Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Random Chatter Reviews. This is Lou. I'm your host tonight, and joining me tonight are the usual co-hosts, Tim and Eric. Tim, how are you?
Hi, Lou. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be
I'm
back.
doing well
We have all
as
three
well.
of us here. We're talking about some stuff we've seen. I don't think we have much stuff that we've seen new, but we'll get to that in a minute. And Eric, how are you?
I'm doing great. I have much less to cover this week than I did last week, though. It's like I had 3 months worth of stuff, and then this week I spent most of the week catching up on The Walking Dead, and then yesterday panicked because I'm like, I'm going to have nothing to cover on Random Chatter this week. So I tried to cram in some things.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot either,
Yeah.
so
Neither do
it'll be
I,
quick.
but it'll be a good show.
We've got some things. We've got a couple of, we got at least one theatrical release this week. So, we're trying.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So I'll start. So I saw one new thing, and Eric already dinged me because he says it's really not new, but it's new. It's a new release of something that was released in 2019. So if anybody's a fan of the band Rush, they had released a movie called Cinema Strangiato a couple of years ago, back in 2019. It was combination concert footage and interviews with people surrounding the band and producers and other bands that played with them
It's
and
like
so
a
forth.
docu-concert.
It's
Is that a thing?
Yeah, I guess it's a good way to put
Okay.
it. Yeah, it
It
is
is now. I made up a word.
Trademark.
Concertary?
No, I
No,
win.
I like docu-concert better.
Yeah,
docu-concert.
better, Tim. Yeah, sorry. So this was the one and only thing. It was last Thursday. So if you're hearing this now and go, "Oh God, I want to see that," I'm sorry, you might be. Maybe they'll listen to DVD later. I don't know. But yeah, I've since Rush is no longer touring, I was like, well, I'll take advantage of this and go. So I masked up and found a theater that wasn't showing it with a lot of people. So I was like, okay, cool. So I watched it and it was good. It was excellent to see it. Great to see Rush on stage again, even though it wasn't really on stage. But the theater was kind of pissing me off. They screwed up the audio. They must have had like one channel of the audio mix cutting out. So half the time it was like listening to Rush through the wall of the theater next to you. It was like, it's kind of muffled.
Wow.
It's not really good.
It could be worse. It could have
Yeah.
been a docu-concert where the audio would actually matter.
Yeah, if it was like, a concert footage, that'd be really tough to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I would have gone and talked to the manager. I'd have been so mad.
Yeah, I would have, but I emailed them and said, hey, put my account on hold. This is through Cinemark, and they was charging me monthly for another credit. I'm like, I'm not really going to the theater that much right now. I don't really need to do this. So they put it on hold for me until December, and I'm like, well, okay. So if I use a credit and go, are they gonna say, oh, he's going to the theater, so let's turn it back on again? I didn't want to stir that pot by going talk to somebody. So yeah, I'll suck it up and
Lou
make
staying under the radar.
I guess.
trying. Let's see. Tim, what have you seen new?
So Eric actually talked about this last week, Only Murders in the Building, which is over on Hulu. It's a series, Steve Martin, Martin Short, and what's her name?
Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez. Yes, thank you. Really good. Very funny. Robin and I like mystery kind of things, and so this is like a comedy mystery. And it's a lot of fun. It's they bring great guest people in. Tina Fey is in there playing a particular role. Sting is actually in it playing himself or
Really?
a version of himself.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really great. It's a lot of fun.
So I did good, right?
Yeah, do check it out. Oh, absolutely. There's right now, as of September 12th, there are 4 episodes up on Hulu right now, and they're releasing new ones every Tuesday.
But I think there's only one more left. There's only 5 or 6 episodes, and I think the next one is the finale.
But they haven't solved anything.
It's Steve
That's the last
Martin
episode
and
for it,
Martin
Tim.
Short. Did you think you've seen them before, right?
Well, yeah, but
no,
holy crap.
they're not going to. I'm
Speaking
surprised they
of-
can figure out how to
had
open the
them
door.
They had them both on Sunday Today this morning when I was getting ready to go to work. I was watching that, and they were talking about that a little bit, and their 2-man show they do live.
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed I don't have Hulu and I can't see this. So
It's good. It's worth watching. I think it's probably the best.
The service, though.
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Hulu originals because I'm not into the Handmaid's Tale. I know it gets kind of dark and it's just not my thing. But I mean, this is easily the best Hulu thing I've seen in a long time. If it were longer, I'd say it's a reason to subscribe to Hulu. being as short as it is. I mean, if you've got a free trial.
No, there's 10 episodes.
Are there?
Yes. According to IMDb, there are 10 episodes.
Okay. What I had seen had only shown descriptions and stuff through the 6th episode. And that was back when they were on episode 3 or 4, but maybe they just didn't go far enough out. Like maybe the titles hadn't been announced yet or something. That's good news. In that case, yeah, I'd say it's definitely worth subscribing for like a month and then dropping if you really have to. Yeah. It's good.
I agree.
Okay, cool.
That's it for me. Like that's really the only new thing.
Okay.
That's all I got.
I got a new thing.
Okay. Eric, what's new for what's new for you?
I saw something that is in the theaters, but I did not see it in the theaters. And it's also on HBO Max. In fact, had I seen it in the theaters, I would have been very, very grumpy.
Why is that? Not good?
I was not a fan. It's called Malignant. Okay. It is a horror movie that is on HBO Max. And again, also in theaters. And I do understand that I have to temper my expectations because I'm not a big horror movie fan. You guys know that. A lot of our listeners know that as well. But I do like stuff that's different. And I like things that are smart. And the guy who directed this, I don't actually have it in front of me. I should have done that before we started. But he's the same guy that did Saw. I think he did The Conjuring. He's... Good movies. And he's good at thinking outside the box. And so this concept is something we hadn't seen before. But some of the dialogue was not well written. Some of the acting wasn't great, but the dialogue was so bad that you had a hard time telling if it was the bad writing and the actors were just forced to say it that way or whether it was bad acting. Because there were moments like where the lead actress did a really good job. And I know nobody who's in this movie. Sorry. It was, you get to a certain point in the movie and you're like, oh, okay, that's what's happening. And then you get to the end of the movie.
What's the premise of the movie?
So a woman starts having visions of murders, like kind of like a boogeyman sort of thing, some nebulous boogeyman killing people in like her dreams and stuff like that. And then she realizes it's actually visions of what's happening in real life. And she has some kind of history where it's someone like from her past that's coming back to kill people and stuff. And saying too much more than that would spoil it. Some people might like the movie. I don't want to diss it too much, but I kind of felt like early on, I couldn't keep up with what was going on because it was just all over the place. Like I was keeping up. I'm just like, what am I supposed to be getting out of this? And then you get to a point where you're like, oh, that's what's going on. Because they don't show the monster. They don't give you any good idea of what the monster's motivations are, why there are killings at all, etc. What this woman's trauma is, anything. You get to a point where you're like, okay, I've got to figure it out. This is like, okay, whatever. I guess I have to sit all the way through the movie. And at this point, my main curiosity about the movie was, am I right? Not what's going to happen next. So you get to the end and they reveal it and you're like, okay, so it's not exactly what I thought. It is close enough. It is close enough. Like there's no way I would have predicted this, but it is close enough. And I'll give them credit for doing something unique because it was unique. But at that point, I'm like, I don't even care anymore because there are things where the physics of things get broken. And we talk a lot about suspension of disbelief on all of our shows. And you have to have it watching movies. Yeah. And especially sci-fi, especially fantasy, and especially horror. And I get it. This, there were some things that just didn't fit in with the world that they created. And then there were some things that just can't happen with humans in certain ways. And not even the thing you might think. Anyway, there was a lot of eye rolling on my part. Some people might love it. I will say that for what appeared to be kind of a more of an independent film, it was well produced. Some of the acting was really good. And I applaud the fact that it was something that I haven't seen before. It was creative. So I'm not saying it's a hard no, not saying it's a hard pass. I'm saying if you're a horror fan, you might like it. If you're not, well, if you're looking for a horror movie you haven't seen, you might as well pick it up, but I wouldn't like go out of your way for it.
Well, it's on HBO Max, so if you have HBO Max
It's
already,
free.
you know.
But
Yeah.
Is it worth the 2 hours you'll never get back? That's the question. And I would say for some
we've
people,
all spent
yes.
worst times in theaters. Yeah.
I would not. I would not see it in a theater. And that's COVID aside.
I know nobody on this cast.
Yeah.
Nothing screams.
What was the director's name?
Person.
Like
No.
Han or Juan?
James
Wan.
Wan.
Okay. And listen, It was directed well. The script needed some work, especially with the dialogue. It was directed well. And again, the concept was, for a horror movie, it was a good concept. Like, it was something fresh.
Sure.
And like you said, he's done some of the stuff that we've all seen and heard. So he's got a lot of producer credits on here.
He's got some pedigree in this genre, and specifically for doing stuff outside the box.
Directors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. If you're a fan of horror movies, I'd say definitely watch it. If you hate horror movies, I don't think you're going to watch this. If you're like, Lou, you and I have talked a lot about this. I don't really know where you stand on stuff like this, Tim, but if there's some level of intellectual content to it or originality, then I'm a little more forgiving about it. And this was like right in that middle where it's like, I want to say some good things about it too, and not just bad stuff, because there's definitely some good stuff there, but I don't know, not for me.
So James Wan is attached to, I didn't know this was going to happen. I'm kind of scared. Knight Rider, movie based on the TV series from the 80s.
Is attached to as in something
you
coming
mean a
up?
new movie?
Yeah, it says announced. He's a producer on it.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for listening.
Yeah, moving on. Wow.
Exactly.
Oh, and I've got one more thing. I'm not going to talk about this a lot, but in the sense of, in the context of things that are very recent releases, the last week saw a lot, more so than any other year, because it's the 20th anniversary, I guess, of 9/11 specials. Netflix had one that was several episodes long. I watched all of it. It was hit or miss. It was mostly pretty good. There was one on Hulu that was produced by National Geographic that was amazing. It focused a lot on, and I didn't get all the way through it. I think it's 5 episodes. I got through the first 2. It focused more on the timeline of the actual events, the first responders, things like that. A lot of footage. I've seen a lot of footage of 9/11 stuff. And there was a lot of footage I had never seen before. This was very different. It wasn't just rehashing the same stuff. The Netflix one was a little bit more, okay, here's the history of Al-Qaeda, and then here's what happened on 9/11, and then here was the military response, and then here's how that led to the war in the Middle East, and then here's how that war got shut down, but then we moved it to Afghanistan, and then here's where we are today. So there was a lot more politics, and there was a lot more, it was less about 9/11, and it was a little preachy in some areas as well. But the Hulu one, if you're looking for something to kind of get more of a feel of, I want to make sure that we maintain a cultural awareness of the events and what happened, and we don't take it for granted. We don't forget the fact that this sort of thing can happen, and the meaning behind it, et cetera. I think the Hulu one is the one to watch. And again, won't say anything beyond that because it's not a fun topic to discuss. I know some people have a big interest in it, and I can say that the Hulu one is, the National Geographic one is good. So.
Okay. Very good. So what do we have that's new to us that may be old news, but something we've discovered recently and found? I have nothing for this category myself.
That makes it easy.
It does, yeah. So what about you guys? Tim, anything you've been found new that you're like, ooh, this is good. Let's go back and watch this now.
The only thing for me is continuing to watch Handmaid's Tale. And I'm at the end of season 2 now. for it, and it's fantastic. It's kind of interesting. I think I had mentioned that last time that Robin dropped off after the first season because the beginning of the second season just kind of seemed to be tedious and almost like the same as the first season. But after a few episodes, it like really kicks in, and it's good. It's still very good, very compelling. It is deep. It is pretty hardcore. So, you gotta, there's some, disturbing stuff in it. But it's all it's not, none of it is, fluff. It's all there for a reason. It's there because it's part of the story. So it's great. I still highly recommend it. And not good for kids at all, ever.
So it's not family TV night. Okay.
No, definitely not.
Eric, what about you?
Well, two things. I've got one movie and one TV show. Recently, and I don't remember if I discussed it on the show or not, but I saw Escape Room. And again, another kind of a horror movie sort of thing, but it was a little bit different. It felt kind of like Saw to an extent, but it was maybe more like the second Saw, but it was an escape room concept. And so this week I watched the sequel, Escape Room Tournament of Champions. And it was not as good as the first. It was okay. Again, I think the concept was better than the execution. The first one I would say is worth watching. This one, if you're bored and want to watch a horror movie, I guess maybe Malignant might be a little better.
And that was a glowing report you had for that one too. So
I had heard that you guys know, because you guys have done them with me. I like escape rooms. And so like when the first escape room movie was first announced, I'm like, oh, this is a great premise. This could be really cool. Then it came out and it just got like abysmal reviews. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. But honestly, I think the first one was okay. Like it wasn't perfect, but for kind of an independent sort of horror movie, it was okay. Like it held my interest. I would recommend it. Like I'd say keep your expectations reasonable, but yeah, go watch the first one. I think the second one it tried too hard and it didn't hit the mark. And I can't even say it was more of the same. Like they tried to really go deeper on it and it didn't work. But the first one I'd say,
I mean, very, very rarely does a second horror movie really succeed where the first one didn't, or at least equal it. I mean, very few of those. Second one is good. So.
Yeah, that's true. And the other thing is Apple TV Plus has a show called C with Jason Momoa. And it's set, I guess, a few centuries in the future. Most people on the planet were wiped out by a virus. Those who were left over are unable to see. Everybody's blind. And those who were left...
Says Dave Bautista too, right?
I think not until second season.
I think he's in season 2,
which is now aired.
Oh, okay, so those are the... All right, so those are the promos I've been seeing. I don't remember ever seeing promos for the first season, but I've been seeing like a ton
one of the flagship
of commercials for, I guess, what's the second season?
It and the Good Morning Show were the flagship launches for Apple TV Plus. So you saw promos, but they were all wrapped up in the promo for the network itself. It was a launch promo.
Right.
Okay.
So the concept is everybody's kind of reverted back to tribal communities. So it's kind of tribal, post-apocalyptic sort of thing. I got halfway through the first episode today and shut it off because yesterday, halfway through the first episode. And I just like, this is just like, it's dumb. It's just, it's dumb. Today I needed background noise for something. Don't even remember what I was doing. And I thought, okay, well, you know what? Let me just finish the episode because you might as well finish the episode. It got better. And so then I watched the second episode and it continued to get better. And so I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to stick with it. It's I don't even know what to say and what not to say about it. The world building is starting to look more interesting. The world building seemed kind of silly at first, and I think that's part of what I didn't like. Plus the tribalness, like they really tried to hit the tribalness stuff hard out of the gate, and I'm like, okay, I don't care. I don't care about sitting there watching them do like some kind of traditional New Zealand style war chant before they go off for battle or something. I don't. Wiping mud on their faces. Okay. Yeah. Seen it a bunch of times. I don't care. Plus, who's going to see it? You're all blind.
I was just going to say, they're putting mud on their faces for what purpose? No one else is going to see.
So I think it was supposed to be like a religious sort of thing or something. I don't know.
It cuts down the glare. Right. They get that light glare and dark glare. Yeah.
So
it's a big light glare.
But there is a kind of an interesting story now that's being layered into it, and I'll give it a chance. And it's been getting a lot of acclaim. People seem to like it. So there's got to be something there. Right. I mean, it's
okay.
Yeah, it got reviewed. It never, I saw the promos back when Apple TV Plus launched, and it didn't really strike me as being something I really wanted to see, even though I liked the people involved. Production quality looked pretty good, but the storyline just like you were saying, it's like they're all blind. It doesn't seem like very plausible. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And it was, but we talked about like Apple TV Plus, I keep saying it wrong. When it first came out, all of the shows were like that. C looked like an interesting premise, but I'd never want to watch it. Good Morning Show looked like an interesting premise with a good cast. Never want to watch it. For All Mankind, interesting premise. Don't think I want to watch it. Started watching the Good Morning Show, and it's good. And in fact, I need to catch up on it. Started watching For All Mankind, and it's good. And these are both shows.
Yeah, For All Mankind's good. I watched season 1 of that.
And these are both shows I would normally have no interest in fact, which is why I still need to go catch up on them. But they're good shows. And of course, I've said before, I love Mythic Quest. And so this one, I figure, and people are really liking it, especially the second season. Yeah, I'll give it a chance. So that was my other recent discovery for me that's not necessarily new, but I know a lot of people have been talking about the second season. So, yeah. So, maybe worth checking out at least.
Okay. Yeah, put it back on my radar a little bit, but it's not going to be top of my list.
Fair.
Now, next thing, I've got stuff that's kind of could go in the category we just talked about, but it's for me, it's catching up on. I talked before, my wife and I've been watching Shameless.
Yeah.
We finally finished season 11, which is the last season of that. Was not a real big fan of the way they ended the series. Not going to spoil anything, but it seemed like a bit of a departure from where they had taken the characters through 11 seasons of stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those series, too, that got a little tedious towards the end. The last 2 or 3 seasons, I'm kind of like, looking at my watch, going, we almost done with this episode. I'm playing on my iPad, and Sharon's watching it. I'm like, it's the same story over and over again, and nothing changes. But anyway, 11 seasons. The cast was good. I think it's worth watching. There's some good moments in there and some cringeworthy moments in there too, just from the stuff they cover. But I'd recommend watching that. And we're finally in the last season of Schitt's Creek now. They put the final seasons up on Netflix. It was released earlier last year or earlier this year, I guess it was. 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I need to finish the first one.
5? I think it's 5. And again, that show just puts a smile on my face, and you watch it and you're like, oh, really? They went there? It's like, it's good stuff though. Good cast, good writing. Interested to see how they wrap it up, because this is the final season of that show. So that's kind of my catching up stuff besides our normal things we watch every week. What about you guys? Tim, anything for you in this category?
Yeah, I mean, just kind of the normal stuff that I've, been watching. To be honest, I'm looking forward a lot to the, fall TV season starting.
Yeah. Summer's always rough.
I mean, we're getting a little bit of it now, like What We Do in the Shadows has started and that kind of stuff. But we're going to have SWAT and Magnum PI, which we watch a lot here. So those are going to start up early October, and
somebody didn't put in the new stuff here. I totally forgot about this. I assume we all watched What If, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
This last episode was pretty good. I thought that was It's neat to get
Zombies.
these different takes on stuff and just like, wow, I never thought of doing that. But yeah, it was cool. So that was good too. But if people aren't watching What If, they should definitely watch What If on
I know
Disney
people
Plus.
are still catching up, so I won't give away the ending, but I kind of like to see a continuation from that last shot.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, speaking of zombies, I decided to finally start catching up on The Walking Dead. I actually had to go back and rewatch a couple of episodes to kind of get myself back into where things are going. Listen, I don't mind I'm still a couple of seasons behind. I'm thinking maybe on 8 or something. I don't mind the series that much. Like I think this whole like the battle with Negan stuff, which is still kind of going on, like I'm okay with that whole plot line so far.
Same.
I know a lot of people kind of like to bash the show now, but I don't mind it. And then I've also been catching up on Flash. I'm behind on Flash and the Flash and Arrow, I should say. So I've still got to catch up with those and kind of finish off my Arrowverse stuff. I think I've got a season of Supergirl too. And I haven't really been doing the Legends of Tomorrow, the Batgirl. I'm doing Stargirl, but I'm not sure why I'm watching it. Because really not my thing. And yet I keep picking it up. Titans though, I talked about that last week, still watching that. Still really hooked on that. And then I know Doom Patrol is coming back in a week or two. Have you guys watched Doom Patrol?
Oh, yeah. Have not.
Weird show. Imagine if you watched Legion, which was kind of basically the X-Men meets Pink Floyd. Only like Pink Floyd, like on the really strong drugs, right? And then like that would be tame compared to Doom Patrol. Like the second season just completely went off the rails, and I'm like, I don't know what kind of drugs I'm supposed to take to watch this show, but they needed to put that in like the opening credits, like this week take this, because I don't know how drugs work. You know, grew up in a conservative family, don't know, but I need to take something to watch this show. It's just it's out there. But it's coming back, so nice. If you're a fan, I'm sure they'll be talking about it on DC Talk on the Random Chatter Podcast Network. So check that out. We have a few things coming back pretty soon, which is good because a lot of the stuff's wrapping up. Archer is maybe halfway through the season?
Yeah, probably.
Titans is drawing to a close. Evil. I've been catching up on Evil as well. Not catching up on, I should say, keeping up with Evil as the new episodes are coming out. So that's been pretty good.
Anything else we want to cover here? You guys had anything else out of the ordinary of TV watching?
Not really.
New books, new video games, anything?
Finally finished up that second Thrawn novel. We talked about that on Force Chatter this week.
Yeah.
A couple of new limited series for comic books that I started. One, these are both Marvel. One is Dark Ages. The premise of it is basically there's a fundamentally a global EMP, and this now is set several years into it. And so you have the superheroes kind of doing their thing. You have certain ones who like really depended on power, who kind of like went into like a steampunk kind of thing. And you know, you're the kind of the normal villains are coming out of the woodwork again. And how are they fighting them in this whole thing? That just had one, just their first issue out. So it really just kind of established the premise. Looking forward to seeing how that's going to go.
So it's new enough it's not on Marvel Unlimited yet?
I don't know, but it is on Comixology.
Okay. All right. Might be too new then.
And the other one is Tech on Avengers. The second issue of this one just came out, and the premise of this one is that Red Skull, after the Avengers have defeated Thanos and they destroyed the Infinity Stones, there's basically dust of the Infinity Stones left in the atmosphere of Earth. And so Red Skull got the dust of these Infinity Stones and used that, obviously not as powerful as the Infinity Stones, but still containing significant power. And kind of almost like a Scarlet Witch thing in House of M, he said, you guys don't have your powers anymore. Done.
Wow.
Gone. So this has been overcome by Tony Stark building armor for all the people who are in this. You've got Captain America, you've got Captain Marvel, you've got Black Panther, you've got Wolverine. So they've kind of, mashed together some characters that aren't always together. And he basically did the same thing that Red Skull did. He went out and got some of this Infinity Stone dust and infused the armor with that. So Red Skull at least can't just like dismantle the armor or destroy the armor because it has similar powers. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. And the neat thing is that, it's another one of these things that Tony went out and did on his own without consulting the rest of the Avengers. So it pissed off Captain America. He's, well, this is great, but you went out and did all this on your own. We never discussed this. And Tony's like, just suck it up, or, you don't get the armor.
Right.
And he built the armor specific to each one of the heroes. So the armor basically gave them fundamentally the powers that they had before. But it obviously in more of a mechanical type of way. So yeah, pretty neat. Just a couple episodes or issues in on that. I like it. It's pretty good.
I need to get some of that dust. Get on little those rockets and a little dust buster to stick my arm out the window, and
and then you just take some of that and like sprinkle it on your oatmeal in the morning or something, your cornflakes, and you're good to go.
Hey, whatever works.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, I guess that brings to the end of the episode.
Yes. So
we'll have more for you next week. We got some cool stuff we're going to get. Now, we can't get out of this episode fast enough because we have a really cool episode we're going to record after this on the new Matrix trailer. So, yes, I'm excited.
The return of...
So, Eric, why don't you take us out so we can get to that?
The return of trailer breakdown to the Random Chatter Network. That's very exciting. If you're watching live, stick around for that because we're going to break it down frame by frame. We are going to go over the teaser content that led into the trailer's release. We're going to be doing that frame by frame. And there's a lot to talk about. So don't miss that. If you're watching this on YouTube later, be sure to check out that video. If you're not watching it on YouTube, go to YouTube. YouTube.com/RandomChatter. Hit the subscribe button. If you like the episode, hit that too. Hit the like button. And there's a little bell button there that will give you notifications of when we go live, when we post new content. So hit that too. Otherwise, if you want to continue getting the audio content, you can do that as well. Just go to randomchatter.com. We've got all kinds of podcasts over there. If you put /Discord at the end of that, you can get to our Discord server. If you put /store at the end of that, you can get some spiffy t-shirts like my two co-hosts here are wearing. And as you'll notice, Lou's Force Chatter t-shirt is a completely different color from Tim's Force Chatter t-shirt. And that's because you can pick what logo and what color you want for your t-shirt or sweatshirt or hoodie or whatever you'd like. So again,
sheer insanity, folks.
It is. It's crazy.
You have multiple colors.
randomchatter.com/store. It's a way to help support the network and actually, get something back in return as well. So we are going to head off and do our trailer breakdown episode of the Matrix 4 trailer. And we will see you again in a week. Until then, take care.